When Dave Albee graduated from Foxcroft Academy, he could have never dreamed that more than 50 years later he'd write a book about his school and the only state basketball championship it has ever won. It's a story about the academy, of course, but really it's a story about small towns in Maine and how much high school basketball meant when there were far fewer forms of entertainment than there are now.
The book is called The Last One Out of Town, Turn Out the Lights. It was a labor of love for Albee, who worked for 35 years as a sports writer for various newspapers across the country. The break that got him his first newspaper job came when he was working at the A&P supermarket in Dover Foxcroft and got talking with the editor of the local paper, the Piscataquis Observer, about the opening game that year of the high school basketball season against Orono.
And I asked her, I said, "Are you going to the game this weekend?" And she said, "Well, I'm not going to go. I really don't know a lot about basketball." And I asked the question, "Well, would you like me to do the game for you?" So I go down on a Saturday night, cover the game. Sunday morning, I write out the game story longhand. Monday morning, I turn it into the Piscataquis Observer, and on Tuesday, the editor-publisher of the Piscataquis Observer calls me up and offers me a full-time job.
So when you were, in effect, auditioning for a newspaper job, you didn't even have access to a typewriter?
No, I wrote it out longhand.
To understand this story, you have to have some kind of a grasp of what high school basketball meant in Maine in the 1970s, especially in the small towns. And it's hard to overemphasize how important it was in the winter to have high school basketball.
Well, you can't do this. They couldn't write this book about Foxcroft, about telling the story about Monson, because the school consolidation basically closed Monson Academy and sent Monson Academy students to Dover Foxcroft to Foxcroft Academy. And Monson had a tremendous basketball tradition at that period of time in small schools. And they wound up, that was the civic pride. That was the focus of the whole town, was that basketball game on a Saturday night or a Friday night. And all of a sudden that disappeared, and they ended up shipping their students to, busing their students to Dover Foxcroft.
I love your description of what some of the gymnasiums were like in the small high schools, and I'm going to read from the book. In Heartland's gym, there was a bed mattress nailed to the stage at one end of the court to protect players from running into it. In Harmony's gym, the ceiling was so low that players had to change the trajectory of their field goals. They had to basically do line drives. And then my favorite is in Athens, the, as you put it, gym in quotes. It was inside the town's fire station, and when basketball games were played, the town's 2 fire trucks were parked in plain view about 8 feet from one of the baselines.
Yeah, and there was in this episode in that game, it was a brutally cold night outside, and inside it was just warm, and the floor started sweating. So this perspiration, moisture on the floor, and one of Monson's star players goes in for a layup, and he slides on the floor and literally slides all the way underneath one of the fire trucks.
When high school basketball teams played back in the 1970s, it's not an exaggeration to say that almost everybody in town showed up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the stadium, or not the stadium, the stands were packed.
Yeah, at every game. So there wasn't a lot of entertainment going on, and it was like, if we're going to do something tonight, it's either watching one of 3 TV stations at the time or going to the local basketball game. And when the team was so successful, you got everybody in there. It was just incredibly intense atmospheres.
And the players who were on the team, as you put it, were almost like royalty. If they were good, they were almost like royalty. They
felt like celebrities, yeah. They felt like celebrities. They were going around town and people were going up to them they didn't know, and it's because of their association with the basketball team. So one guy said, I don't know what to say to you because I don't understand why you know me, but they knew him because he was a basketball player. He was a big star in town, a celebrity.
The book follows the 1975 Foxcroft Academy team through its undefeated regular season into the playoffs and finally to its championship game against another undefeated powerhouse, Madomic Valley.
One of my favorite things in this story is of how excited the Foxcroft players were that they had a Greyhound bus chartered for them that they could take from Dover down to Augusta for the championship game. And being able to ride in a Greyhound bus rather than a school bus, wow, that was great.
That was a big thing. The funny story about that is Al Barham of Madomic Valley. He's in the parking lot at the Augusta Civic Center when the bus rolls up, and he sees the Foxcroft team coming off the bus, and he's going, wait a minute, why couldn't we have a Greyhound bus? We had to come in a yellow school bus.
Foxcroft defeated Madomic Valley in the state championship, its only gold ball ever.
200-year history.
As a reporter, were on the bus with the players
Yes.
as they returned from Augusta to Dover Foxcroft.
Yeah, and that was an amazing scene. I can remember getting off the bus and getting on the Greyhound bus at the Newport exit, which is, 27 miles from Dover Foxcroft, and there were already fans from Foxcroft at that exit cheering them on when they were coming home.
What do you hope readers take away from this book?
I hope that they enjoy this book as much as I enjoyed researching and writing it. We're talking about events that happened 50 years ago, and it's just like yesterday, and people are just, you bring a smile to your face, and it's a feel-good time, and I hope that people enjoy the fun I have with this book and get that out of it.
The two stars of that game are still around, and 207's Don Carrigan decided they should also get to tell part of the story. Hello, Don.
Hi, guys. I love this story because, of course, I'm old enough to remember back in that day when high school basketball was king in Maine in the wintertime. Still is in some places. And Kevin Nelson and Alan Barron were two of the best.
Back in high they go, down to 4. Nelson stops. The jumper good at the buzzer.
In rural Maine in winter, the quest for the gold ball can stir passion, pride, and memory.
Does this place look much different than it did?
No.
No.
Other than less bleachers, no.
Al Barron and Kevin Nelson are forever linked by those memories. 50 years ago, this month, they faced each other here at the Augusta Civic Center for the state Class B basketball championship.
They caught the photo from looking towards this direction, I think it was. And that just captured the crowd. You could see the crowd. Our side was on this side. Foxcroft was on that side, correct?
They were the two big men. Al was 6'6", Kevin 6'8".
There were four jump balls. I don't know. I don't think I lost all four, but I can't remember. I really don't. I could jump pretty well.
That was back in the day.
We had one at every quarter.
Every quarter.
Every quarter, yeah.
Kevin Nelson was center for Foxcroft Academy. Al Barron a power forward at Madomic Valley. And it may be that destiny had planned their showdown. Both teams came to the championship game undefeated.
With all due respect to the other good teams in the state that year, I think we were probably considered the two best boys basketball teams in high school, in Maine high school that season.
And you guys, you probably don't want to admit it, but you guys were the stars of the team. Right?
We were
the tallest ones, I
We
guess.
were the tallest ones. We each had a very good supporting cast, though,
Yes.
I'll say that. Every one of my teammates was very capable, and Kevin's as well.
Nelson dominated the board Saturday night and scored.
We could find no film of that title game, but there is radio, and there is this, from a Foxcroft win the week before in that year's Eastern Maine tournament, and from my own late-night newscast.
And Foxcroft was not to be denied.
Were you guys nervous going in?
Yes,
More than usual?
yes, I was.
Our team was not nervous at all. We had such an easy run through the Western Maine tournament. We scored almost 300 points in 3 games.
Kevin says Foxcroft had struggled at the end of its season and then built back in the tournament.
We had to get our groove back, I guess you could say.
Then, as now, school pride and town pride were at stake.
Whether you're mid-coast Maine or inland Maine like me, and particularly in rural areas, in the wintertime,
That was the show. That was
It
what
was.
people wanted to do. They looked forward to the
Oh, my
games. They
gosh.
turned out in large numbers.
And by game time, the Civic Center, they say, was packed and roaring.
It was just incredible. I mean, the noise in this building that night was deafening.
And the game?
Drives, gets the pass over to Barron, he lays it up and in.
They remember only some.
It was just a lot of it was a blur. I can remember, I have snapshots in my head, but no movie.
It was a real championship matchup. The lead bounced back and forth all game. Madomic led at the half, but in the fourth quarter, Foxcroft surged back.
We were down, and the clock became our enemy.
But Kevin Nelson was in foul trouble.
Off the glass, no good. And Nelson's going to get called for the offensive foul. And boy, there's a big play in this ball game right now. That's the 4th foul on Nelson.
Kevin got 4 fouls. Did you think that might have been a shot if you could get his 5th?
Oh, I was certainly trying. I was certainly trying.
At that point in time, that's a really good point, because not only myself, but a teammate of mine, I think Kenny Burchell, had 4 fouls as well.
Down by 3 with the clock ticking, Al Barron got the ball underneath.
Rebound inside to Barron. He puts it up, stopped out there by Nelson. Ingraham away with the board.
Well, it was right about where that little half circle is, right there. I got a rebound right here in the lane, and I can remember being really down low, and I had that ball, and I was trying to figure out any way I could. We were down 3 at the time with 15, 20 seconds left to go, and I said, I need to make this basket, and I didn't. According to the newspaper article, I faked him a couple times, and it didn't work. He blocked me, and then they got the ball. We probably had to foul them, and it ended up a 3-point differential.
And the Foxcroft Academy basketball team, #1 Class B state champions.
Kevin's block may have saved the win. Foxcroft Academy, for the only time in school history, got the gold ball. It sits there today in the center of the school's trophy case. There are many other trophies in there, but 50 years later, that gold ball still holds the place of honor. Madomic would win its own gold ball 2 years later, and again in 1980, and has fought for them several times since. For Kevin and Al, basketball continued in college, and in the years after, these two former rivals became friends.
Al was the best player I played against my senior year, easily. And he was on, obviously, the best team that we played against my senior year.
He was a real big man. I was more of a power forward type guy. I played less with my back to the basket than I did facing the basket, and he was a true big man. He had the reach and stuff that I'd never experienced before.
Both have had busy lives and families and careers and are now retired, but there will always be that moment, that one game when two young stars put it all on the line for the title, for the pride, for the gold ball. That elusive, mystical Maine award that doesn't tarnish, that enshrines a shared moment in their lives and always will.
You know, one of many interesting points about this, both Al Barron and Kevin Nelson said that when they walked into the Augusta Civic Center for that game, it was the first time they'd ever been in that building because it had only been around a couple years. And Al Barron said he and his team had never played ball with freestanding glass backboards. And Kevin had played it at the Bangor Auditorium the week before, but Barron and Madomic had never seen it, and it took him a while to adjust.